The courtroom was quiet on March 3rd, 2026. Just another status hearing. Just another exchange of evidence. But behind those doors, something shifted. The defendant, Quadajah Johnson, walked in looking different, thinner, pale, sickly according to those who saw her. And when she walked out, she had done something that has everyone asking. Why would someone facing life in prison sign away the rights to their own name? But before we get into that, this is True Crime Unraveled, and I want to send a massive thank you to everyone who has hit that super thanks button. You keep these updates coming, you keep the lights on, and we don't take a single one of you for granted. Now, let's unravel what just happened. For those just joining us, this is an update on the Quadajah Johnson case. If you haven't seen our previous breakdown of the aunt's message and the restraining order confusion, head over to the True Crime Unraveled channel and catch up. Because today we're talking about what happened on March 3rd, and it's a lot to unpack. Let's start with the aunt. You remember her, Tammy, the one who's been striking pages, copywriting content, and threatening creators for speaking on the case. Well, guess who finally showed up to court? That's right. After months of fighting the internet from behind a screen, she made her way into that courtroom. And she didn't just show up to observe. According to reports, she got authorization from Holly herself to sign over the rights to all her pictures, her name, her image, her brand, if you can call it that. Quadajah Johnson signed a trademark authorization and consent, handing control of her own identity over to her aunt. Now, let's sit with that for a minute. Here's a woman facing 11 counts, including first-degree murder and Class X felonies. She's looking at the rest of her life behind bars. And in the middle of all that, she's signing over her name? What is the motive here? Is this about protecting her image? Controlling the narrative? Or is this something else entirely? A family preparing for the worst, locking down whatever assets or opportunities they think might exist on the other side of this. Here's the question that keeps coming back. Will this solve anything for the Johnson family? Will it get Holly out of jail? Will it undo what happened on September 8th? Or is it just a distraction, a way to feel like they're doing something when the truth is there's nothing they can do but wait? And here's something that really makes you think. The Meeks family, Romeca's family, the ones who actually lost someone, have they been out here striking pages? Have they been copywriting pictures? Have they been threatening creators? No, not a word. They are the ones with every right to be angry. They are the ones who will never see their daughter again. But somehow they seem to be the calmest people in this entire circus. Meanwhile, the family of the person who pulled the trigger is out here playing trademark games and fighting with the internet. Does that make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The rumors, the allegations, the thing that has content creators across the internet losing their minds. Word on the street, and I want to be very careful here because this is unconfirmed, is that Quadajah Johnson may no longer be pregnant. People who saw her in court on March 3rd say she looked terrible, thin, pale, unwell, and that has sparked a wave of speculation that she may have terminated the pregnancy she was reportedly carrying, the baby she and Carlos conceived just weeks after Romeca's death. Now, let's be clear. We are not confirming this. We are reporting what's being said and asking the questions that need to be asked. If this is true, if Holly did have an abortion, what does that say about her? What does it say about the pregnancy itself? Remember when her legal team was fighting for her release? 3 times, 3 denials. One of the arguments they used was that she was pregnant. They leaned on that. They thought it might sway the judge. It didn't work. The judge looked at the evidence, looked at the charges, and said no. 3 separate times. So if the pregnancy was real and now it's gone, what changed? Was it just a strategic move that stopped working? Did she think being pregnant would make her untouchable? And when it didn't, the baby became an inconvenience? And then there's Carlos. Word on the street is that Carlos may have a new girlfriend. If that's true, and again, we're not confirming, but if he's moved on, if there's another woman involved, does that change things? Does Holly, sitting in that cell, hearing that the man she went through all of this for is already with someone else, does that make her rethink bringing a child into this mess? Or was the pregnancy never real to begin with? Some people have suggested it was a hoax from day one. a play for sympathy and bond that backfired. But we remember those early court dates. We remember the arguments. The defense was leaning hard on that pregnancy card. If she did terminate, is that the face of a woman who just made a heartbreaking decision? Or is it the face of someone who's finally realizing the walls are closing in? Let's move to what actually happened in court on March 3rd. This was what they call a discovery hearing. Basically, the prosecution and defense swap evidence. The state comes with their flash drives full of police reports, witness statements, video footage, body cam, forensics, ballistics, everything they've gathered. The defense comes with whatever they have. And here's where it gets interesting. Reports from inside the courtroom say that the prosecution rolled in with a cart full of evidence. A cart. That's not a folder. That's not a manila envelope. That's a cart. They have so much material that it had to be wheeled in. Meanwhile, the defense, Ari Williams' team, is doing what defense attorneys do. They're trying to pick it apart. One of the key moments from this hearing, the defense denied an expert. Now, we have to be careful here because medical stuff on YouTube can get dicey. But here's what we know. Last court date, the defense asked for an expert to observe DNA testing. The judge said, fine, identify your expert. Now, this court date, they denied some form of expert. They changed their mind. Why would you do that? If you're facing a cart full of evidence from the prosecution, wouldn't you want all the expert help you can get? Unless whatever that expert might find doesn't help you. Unless you're better off not knowing. Unless you're better off keeping certain questions unasked. And here's another layer. There's been an order of protection placed on Romeca's medical records from Stroger Hospital. That means those records are off limits for now. But there's talk, and again, this is talk, that some form of medication was found on someone and it wasn't Romeca. Put two and two together. If it wasn't Romeca's medical records they're protecting, whose could it be? What medication? What does that have to do with this case? The judge also put a stop to the Zoom calls. Too many people. Too much chaos. From now on, if you want to see what's happening in this case, you have to show up in person. That tells you something about how this judge runs his courtroom. He's not playing. Now, let's talk about the document that changes everything, the case management order. This is the official court schedule signed by Judge Michael R. Clancy on January 7th, 2026. And it lays out exactly how long this process is going to take. Here are the key dates you need to know. First, the state's discovery deadline, January 7th, 2027. That's 1 year from now. The prosecution has until that date to finish handing over all their evidence. Police reports, witness statements, video, forensic evidence, ballistics, medical reports, everything they intend to use at trial. That doesn't mean they can't provide it earlier. It means they have until then to get it all out there. Second, the defense motions deadline, May 7th, 2027. By this date, the defense must file every motion they plan to use. Motions to suppress evidence, motions to dismiss, motions in limine, asking the judge to keep certain evidence out. This is where the legal battles over what the jury gets to see will be fought. This is where evidence lives or dies. Third, the disposition deadline, January 7th, 2028. That's the target for the case to be resolved. Not the trial date, the resolution. Whether through trial verdict, plea deal, dismissal, or some other outcome, the court wants this case finished by January 2028. Now, here's what that timeline tells us. The court treats murder cases differently. Look at the categories. Class 1 to 4 felonies get 12 months total. Class X felonies get 18 months. Murder cases get 24 months. That's how serious this is. That's how much evidence there is to sift through. That's how high the stakes are. And here's the kicker. The order specifically says this does not affect the defendant's right to a speedy trial. If Quadajah Johnson walks into court tomorrow and demands a speedy trial, all of these dates go out the window. The case could move much faster. So the fact that she's not doing that, the fact that her team is working within this 2-year timeline, tells you something. It tells you they're not in a hurry. And usually the only side that wants to slow things down is the side that needs more time to find a defense. So let's bring this all together and ask the questions that matter. Why is the aunt trademarking Holly's name? Is she preparing for a future where her niece is a convicted felon with no control over her own identity? Or is this just another way to fight content creators to own the name so she can strike down anyone who uses it? Why would Holly, if the rumors are true, terminate a pregnancy that her legal team used as a reason for her release? Was it never about the baby? Was it always about strategy? And if so, what does that say about her character? Why is the Meeks family silent while the Johnson family fights the internet? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't the family who lost someone be the ones making noise? Or is their silence a quiet confidence, a belief that the evidence will speak for itself? And that cart full of evidence, that flash drive, that expert the defense suddenly doesn't want, that medication that might belong to someone, put it all together. Does any of this look like a case where the defendant walks away? The aunt said September 8th changed everyone's lives. She's right about that. But it didn't change them equally. One family is planning a funeral. The other family is planning a trademark. One family is grieving in private. The other family is striking pages in public. If Holly Johnson is innocent, the trial will prove it. If she acted in self-defense, the evidence will show it. But if she's guilty, if she took a life in a school zone, if she used her baby as cover, if she conceived another child in celebration of a death, if she terminated that child when it stopped being useful, then all the copyrights and all the strikes and all the fighting with creators won't change a thing. The court doesn't care about trademarks. The court cares about that cart full of evidence. The court cares about that timeline that stretches to 2028. The court cares about the truth. And in the end, the truth always comes out. If this update got you thinking, hit that like button. Let us know in the comments, what do you think about the aunt trademarking Holly's name? Smart legal move or pointless distraction? And what about the abortion rumors, real or internet noise? We read every comment and we want to hear from you. Subscribe to True Crime Unraveled on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and TikTok at True Crime Unraveled TV. We'll be back with more updates as this case moves toward those 2027 and 2028 deadlines. Thanks for watching and keep asking the hard questions.
Now, the defense is either there can be a public defender, which baby mama 2 does not have a public defender. Baby mama number 2 hired attorney Williams to defend her and get her through this pretrial phase. We don't know if she's actually going to be the trial attorney as of yet. Okay. When we seen the court documents previously, we didn't see her name listed, but that doesn't mean that she won't be hired to continue to serve and assist. Right. So basically right now, it seems like the prosecution is in beast mode right now. They have so much evidence that their stuff is on a flash drive. It's a lot of evidence. If you remember the last court date, the defense mentioned we just got a lot of evidence and we didn't get to go over it yet. That's why they wanted to continue to today. Right? So just say that they got that tea on the situation and you know, our slang terms, they got the tea. They was not playing. Okay. The angels must be back in the prosecution at this time because I'm telling you, they're not playing. They haven't let up. The laws are on the side of the prosecution in reference to appearing that someone could have possibly violated the law. Court went phenomenal. Nothing much of an update, but it seems that everything is moving along. And it seems that the state is annihilating this whole situation because the state has so much evidence to present. Now, what we talked about a few minutes ago, just because the state has all this evidence, that does not mean that the state gets to use all this evidence. That is going to be determined when they actually do the proceeding in reference to what evidence gets to be used in the trial and what not. They're still exchanging information right now. Okay, so according to what happened in court that we're aware of, it seems like the prosecution has boatloads of evidence that they're bringing to prove their case, and the reasons on why they feel that they're charging baby mama number 2. Okay. So at the same time, the defense is basically saying, hey, this was self-defense. My client has been getting threats for some time. Now listen, I'm saying it, but I don't believe that. I'm just giving y'all a understanding. Okay, Niecy too cute. She out. What does that mean? Let me see what some of you guys say. Do you think that her lawyer will quit on her knowing that she can't get her off the murder? Listen, attorneys can't just quit on people. If they're paid, they are paid to do a job. Okay? I don't know why someone said that. No, I don't know why that's even being mentioned. No, she's not been released. I don't know where that came from or why that was said. Today had nothing to do with pretrial release. I don't know why that's being said. No, she's not released. I don't know why that was brought up. Okay. And they had a cart full of evidence. I said this before charges was brought up, that there's so many things that ended it for baby mama number 2. Yeah. Okay. So she's not released. Today, this specific court date didn't address the pretrial release. It addressed the information in exchange between the attorneys. So it didn't involve that. Now, as far as the appellate court and when they were appealing her pretrial release, I personally don't have an update about that yet. I don't have an update about that yet. So I won't be able to share. Yeah. So as of right now, to be clear, Niecy, she's still in Cook County Jail. She's still there. Now, someone mentioned that the prosecution had a cart full of evidence and a flash drive. Listen, lots of things took place. Okay. And for the prosecution to even come up with the first degree murder charge in itself, there had to be a substantial amount of evidence backing that up that led to them riding with that. Understand. They couldn't even come up with a charge like that if they truly couldn't prove something like that based on the evidence that they've collected during the investigation and during the pre-trial phase. Krista says Ari is going to have a hard time going through all the evidence if she missed a witness and there was only 5. Yeah, I hope she gets to take her time. She has time to go over everything, and she has a big staff. So just because the state has all of that evidence as what we spoke on before, that does not mean that all of that evidence will actually be presented during the trial procedure, okay? I'm not sure if she's still expecting. The last thing that I heard is that she decided to no longer be, but that's allegedly. I'm not sure, okay? It seems that way. So another thing too is that if the defense, okay, the defense has to show why why did baby mama number 2 feel that she had to take it that far? Okay. Why did she feel that she had to take it that far? What was her feelings at this time? Okay. It ain't up to us. But we just truly feel that she was on some bullshit. That's how we feel. You can't take our feelings away from us. We truly feel, from all the things that we've heard, all of the rumors, and just our own gut feelings, we just feel that she was on some bullshit. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. Can y'all describe it a different way? Because I don't believe, from what I've seen, that it could have ever been self-defense. But that does not mean that in this moment she is guilty of that. They have to take it through the proper procedure and get in conviction. So the best thing that the defense attorney can do is really study that evidence. Figure out the reasons why she wants to strike some of that stuff and get rid of some of that stuff. Because it's so much. If it has direct involvement with the case and it directly reveals important parts of the case, then the judge can rule to keep it. Right? Jasmine says, we feel like she could has, and she should have walked away. She had multiple times to walk away. We feel like that. Sean says, hating, jealous, Aquarian queen. She was thinking that's the problem. People don't think about the consequences of using a weapon in situations like this. Correct. Pamela, jealousy. That's what she was on. Krista, she knew she wanted to pew her. She was ready to do it. We all had these feelings. But guess what? It has to go through the proper procedures. This is really going to determine how much work Attorney Williams' team is going to put in to combat all that evidence. It's a lot of evidence, guys. She has to come up with her reasons to convince the judge that it has nothing to do with it or that it should not be allowed. Good luck, sweetie. It's all I got to say. Good luck. Good luck.